Okay, so have you ever gotten that, like, that feeling, right? Like that chill down your spine, where it feels like you're being watched.
Yeah.
But you can't quite, see anything.
Yeah. Like something's there.
Exactly. And that's exactly the kind of feeling that we are diving into today. We're going deep on one of America's most famous ghost stories, the Bell Witch haunting. Now, what we're going to do today is we're going to look through all the sources on this. So we've got historical accounts, we've got local legends, we even have a tie-in to future U.S. president.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's going to be a wild ride.
Yeah.
And really what we want to do here is unpack the facts. We want to explore the mystery. But really, honestly, I'm just trying to give you guys some goosebumps along the way. So
I love it.
So, to get us started right, let's set the scene. It's rural Tennessee, early 1800s. The Bell family is just living their best life on their farm. Crops are growing, life's moving along. But then, the patriarch of the family, John Bell, has this bizarre encounter with a creature. And it's described as a dog-rabbit hybrid.
Wow.
Like, what? That's interesting, right? That it's not like your typical, ghostly apparition. It's like something, like you were saying, something is just like off right from the start.
Totally.
It's playing with our expectations. Like, is this a real animal?
Right.
Or is this some kind of, optical illusion? Or is it some kind of deliberate attempt to, mess with this family?
Right. And it just gets so much weirder from there. So then we start getting these reports of knocking sounds,
right,
disembodied voices, objects that are, moving by themselves. Oh, like classic haunting tropes. But the thing is about the Bell Witch story is it doesn't stay at that level. It's not just like random spooky stuff happening,
Right.
This entity, this witch, it actually like interacts with the family.
Yeah.
Like it taunts them, it mocks them, and it really, really zeroes in on John Bell, the father, and his daughter, Betsy.
Yeah, and that's what's so disturbing about it. I mean, it's not just fleeting glimpses of something or disembodied voices. Like Betsy is being physically attacked by this thing.
Yeah.
Like pinched, slapped, left with like marks and bruises on her body.
Which is interesting, I think, on a couple of different levels. Because, it goes beyond like a typical, ghostly presence, and it just feels so much more personal, so much more like, I don't know, vindictive, know? And, if you think about the time period that this was happening in, women were often seen as more, how do I say this, as more susceptible, more easily influenced. They were seen as hysterical or vulnerable to the supernatural.
Right.
So these attacks on Betsy, whether they were real or not, whether they were imagined, it's like, I don't know, maybe it reflects some deeper anxieties about women's vulnerability in society at that time.
That's interesting.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. So, and this is where we get into the alleged identity of the Bell Witch. A woman named Kate Batts. And Kate Batts was a neighbor, and John Bell had supposedly wronged her in a business deal. So, I mean, it's tempting to say, like, oh, well, that lends some credence to the story. It's like, well, there's a spirit.
Right.
And she wants revenge because of how she was treated when she was alive.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's a possible explanation, but maybe it's also just an attempt to, to explain something that doesn't really make sense, right? I mean, we as humans, we're really good at creating these narratives, especially about stuff that scares us or confuses us. And so a vengeful spirit that really kind of fits perfectly in that narrative.
Right. But then on top of that, we have this account, and this one's crazy to me. We have this account of General Andrew Jackson, future president of the United States. Okay. He, this guy decides to go to the Bell farm to see what's going on.
Yeah.
Because, he's a tough guy.
Yeah, like he doesn't believe it.
Right.
Yeah.
He doesn't believe it.
Yeah.
And he's scared off by the Bell Witch.
Wow.
That's pretty wild.
I mean, think about that, right? This is a guy who has this reputation. Like, he's tough, he's not afraid of anything. And even he seems to have been, like, rattled by whatever he encountered. Or what he believed he encountered.
Right.
And, you add that to the story, it makes it even more powerful, right?
Yeah, it adds so much.
It fuels the public fascination with this story.
Yeah. And then you have the death of John Bell. So, his health starts declining.
Right.
The witch takes credit for his declining health. There are rumors of poisoning. And we don't know, right? I mean, was it the stress of all of this? Was it a legitimate illness? Or was there something more sinister going on?
Yeah, it's really chilling, that detail, because it blurs the line between, the supernatural and the real world.
Completely.
And then the fact that there was a mysterious vial, like a little bottle of something that was found next to his body. But like the contents, they were never confirmed. So it leaves us with this question, this unanswered question of what really happened to him. Was it the witch? Was she directly involved? Or did she torment him so much that it like pushed him to the brink?
Wow. And even after John Bell's death, the story doesn't end. Some people say that she just vanished. But there are others who say that she actually stuck around.
Whoa.
And she tormented Betsy for years to come.
So it's that ambiguity, right? It's that like unresolved nature of all of this.
Yeah.
That makes this legend so powerful. It allows people, every generation can reinterpret the story and fill in the blanks with their own fears, with their own beliefs.
Right. Okay, so we've got this haunting, we've got fear, we've got tragedy, we've got potentially, human malice. But like, what does it all mean? What can we take away from all of this?
I mean, I think at the end of the day, the Bell Witch story, it raises all these questions about boundaries, like the boundaries between life and death. What happens when we die? Where do we go?
Yeah.
And also, it makes you think about how powerful belief is, like how much our beliefs can actually shape the reality that we experience.
Wow.
And then I think even deeper than that, it's just this enduring allure of the unknown. It challenges us. Like, what would we do if we were confronted with something that we couldn't explain?
Right. That's a good question. Makes you wonder. Would you be brave enough to go visit the Bell Witch Cave yourself?
Yeah.
And if you did, what would you expect to find?
Right.
That's something to think about.